Now they happen to be Ugandan, you happen to be Ugandan. Eventually we are building Uganda. Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is be creative in your business. Adapt to change. You know, look at all the changes. Ask yourself, what has changed in the past 5 years, or what has not changed in the past 5 years? That's also a very good question to ask. And then respond to that change or that thing that hasn't changed.
How secure is this thing, VPN we're talking about? How secure is VPN, Adrian? We're talking about it here. Like any other good thing, there's been a lot of fear that we could be in more danger, that our data is actually being taken away because, I mean, it's virtual private network. The guy who's running it is probably in Europe or in Australia or in Germany, he's anywhere in the world. What happened to my data? When I'm very busy enjoying VPN here and thinking that I've safely landed the other side, I've navigated the path, I'm on social media network and platforms, but yet my data may not be safe. You're talking about cybersecurity as an expert.
Well, when it comes to security of your data,
on VPN particularly,
as in, it's like you're communicating with someone, you're communicating through someone that you don't know.
Yes.
You're communicating through me. You have an idea you want to communicate to the public, but you don't want to do it by yourself. You want me to do it for you. So if you don't trust me, is your data safe? Maybe you answer yourself. Yeah?
I don't know whether my data is safe,
it depends on the trust you have with the VPN solution provider. Because definitely if they have their agent, which picks the information that you want to broadcast from your browser or from your applications on your phone. Definitely, you know, when we're installing applications on our phones, they'll ask you, do you want me to have access to your contact list? Because you'd wonder, how do these guys actually make money?
Yes, that's another question.
Because I have access to your phone numbers and your contact list, I can sell that information. I have access to your device. I'm seated in your house. I know where your bedroom is. I know where your bathroom is. I know where your kitchen is. So I can use that information for my own. But as I'm also doing your job. That's why we always...
So it's really not free.
It's not free. It's not free because these VPN guys, of course, they have a lot of access to data. And data is gold. You know, if for example, Truecaller wants data about probably contacts for people, They could go to a VPN guy and tell him, okay, we need, in Uganda, we need to know all this number belongs to this one, this number belongs to this one, so that we can use that information, load it into our server, and make our application work better. You will not know. But they will sell the information at millions of dollars.
It is a Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila and welcome to the program. This is House of Talent Television, where we bring you issues that affect the person, the common person every single day, and we discuss it, dissect, and find answers to it. The Creative Industry Talk is a program that brings together the creative brains, a platform for every one of us to be able to think creatively, to discuss issues that affect us, but of course, discuss the products that we have in the market. How do we work with this? How do we create prices here, there, and what those things? Everyone is creative in their, in their rights or in their way, or on their rights or on their way, depending on which English you use. But creativity exists in every single one of us. And when we were in school, they said, any mistake in art is creativity. So we were always taught the same, and the products we have in the market is meant to solve the problem. But are we looking at it that way? Do we make things look that way, or do we think creatively in every process that we have? To discuss this today on the program is the one and only David Okwii, is the founder and the shop manager of Odukar stores. We still don't understand why he called himself the shop manager, but perhaps today we are going to understand this on the show. David, welcome to the program. Here we spread love like this. You need to do it correct. Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Welcome to the program, David.
Thank you, Akela, for hosting me.
Great. And we want to start from a lighter note, David, by first of all knowing you. Who is David Okwii in a nutshell? Where do you come from? What are you? Are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
Yeah, first of all, I will best describe myself as an internet entrepreneur. Yeah. That is as short as it can be. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I live and breathe the internet, and my livelihood solely comes from the internet. Yeah.
Wow. David, talking of the internet, living and breathing internet, growing up, where and which part of this country do you hail from?
So I grew up from Jinja, along the shores of the River Nile. Mm-hmm. Yes, just you know where the new bridge is? Yeah. Yes, you know that industry there? Yes. Nighthall.
Yes.
Did you use Nighthall bedsheets?
All through, in even uniforms for high schools, we used to wear Nighthall.
Yes, yes, yes. It's an incredible industry. So my dad used to work there, and I used to stay around the estate just close to the industry. And yeah, I think I went once to swim on the river, riverbanks.
Where the hydroelectricity is produced, David?
On this side.
To commit suicide?
No, it was on this side of the reservoir, you know, where there is that lot of water.
Yes, yes.
So the water is kind of still, it doesn't move very fast, and so at the riverbanks you can actually swim.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talking of that, if I'm watching you from, let's say, Dallas in the US or in the UK, from anywhere, and I don't know where these places are from, take us through your ancestry, Where do you hail from? Which part of the country do you come from? What are the food they eat there? Are they creative people? Do they dig creatively or preserve food creatively? Which part of this? What is your ancestry like, if you take us through it?
So Maniteso, my dad is from I'm from Kumi. My mom is from Kapchora, around Sipi Falls. That side, yes.
You come from where there's beauty on yes.
Then I grew up in Jinja most of the time, studied in Jinja most of the time. Then in my later teens, I moved to Kampala. Yes.
Okay. So the people of Kumi, in the eastern part of the country, if we would put it for some of us who are from the outside countries, what food do they eat and how do they preserve food? Are they creative in this process? Do they
they're very creative.
What's the process like?
So Teso is a very dry place. That's the one thing that you need to understand. Yes, we have rains like the rest of the country, but for the most part, it's a dry place. So people have to come up with ways of preserving food through the dry season so that they are able to have food. They don't starve. Teso actually has one of the best food preservation methods out there in the country. The foods that we eat is cassava, potatoes, and these are perishables, you get. But we have a way of drying them and then, putting them in the granary and making sure that during the dry seasons, people still are able to have food.
Wow. Yeah. But what is the history like behind the storage? I mean, somebody must have, of course, thought about the creative process of keeping the food for this longer period of time. I once was in Canada, and I realized that in Canada they preserve food for 6 months in the fridge during the cold season. 6 months in the fridge. Yeah. And that in Africa would be something else.
6 months in the fridge. Does the food taste good? I don't know.
Yes, everything is freezed. I mean, it's not really tasting good. So when we compare that creativity in France, in Canada and in many parts of the world to keep food, and in Teso, the eastern part of Uganda, like you've talked about, I just want to sort of like look at the creative processes, the wisdom of the elders. How did they come up with that, and how long will the food take when it's dried? For example, how long does it take? Can you package this food and sell? How do you sort of like go about this?
I don't stay much in the village, but I've been there for some long periods of time, and I've learned from like my parents and my uncles and stuff. So I'll talk mostly about cassava and potatoes. Have you heard of amukeke?
Yes.
You've had it?
Yes, I've actually eaten it. It's one of the best. I would call Uganda's best plate for breakfast. Yes.
So for people who don't know, amukeke is dried potatoes. Yes, so they dry the potatoes, put them in the granary, and then you're able to, just take a few portions of the potatoes, then you boil them. And now when you boil them, put in a little bit of salt. You can also put in OD if you want. That is,
which is simsim paste.
Ginat or simsim paste, and then you take with chai mukalu. Wow. It's really the best breakfast.
Which is black tea. Yes. Wow, so these guys have just given us, so this is a creativity coming from Teso. I want to just take a moment to welcome everybody to the program. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila. This morning I'm talking to, or this afternoon, this night, or this evening, depending which part of the world you are, I'm talking to David Okwii, who is, an internet breather and eater, if you would say it in a nutshell, as he said it. Entrepreneur. Is a man who think creatively using internet and creating stuff, and of course integration. Today in the program we want to discuss system integration. We're looking at the local content development. Everybody's talking about local content development. You've heard about local content development in oil and gas, but we're looking at local content development focusing on creative system integration, on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, Bubu. We are talking about this. And David Okwii is the founder and the shop manager at Odukar Stores, which is an online platform. I would say is the Amazon of Uganda in the making, okay? And perhaps going to go Africa. We want to just understand this, David, from your point of view. Are you a creative mind? Do you look at yourself as a creative mind? Or what is creativity to you, first of all, to start with?
So I don't look at myself as a creative in the traditional sense of a designer or an artist or a painter or that kind of stuff. But I think that I'm creative, just like everybody else has to be creative. So to me, creativity speaks about using your imagination to solve problems. And that cuts across anyone, whether it is government or big corporations or small businesses or individuals or families and stuff. Yeah. So it is really using your imagination to solve problems. That is creativity in a nutshell.
Yeah. Let me take you a little bit back, David. You know, growing up, you obviously went through a traditional, you know, educational system that we all go through in Uganda or in Africa, in most part of Africa.
Yeah.
But I want to just take you through a little bit. What is your background like?
In terms of education?
Yes.
I am an engineer by training or by education.
Yes. How did you become an engineer? Growing up, did you always see yourself as becoming one? How did you end up there?
I sort of gravitated more towards machines, objects, electronics and stuff. So naturally I leaned towards the engineering bit of it. I was fascinated by tech by the age of, let's say 12. Yes, and I grew up close to, like I said, my dad used to work in a textile industry, and sometimes I would have free tours to the factory. It's really huge. Like, it is, I think, one of the biggest industries in East Africa.
Yeah.
So I would move around. It's like, I don't know, maybe 5 football pitches. Yeah, so you move around, you see machines doing lots of, you know, fancy things and all. So I was really fascinated from an early age to admire and to love engineering. Yes.
Okay. So if somebody is looking at you now, would want to think that, you know, that background shaped your way of becoming an engineer.
Yeah.
How did your parents look at it when you're growing up? Normally, parents are very fascinated with certain things they want their children to do, or a certain way they want their children to become. What was like with your parents, your mother and father, when you decided to gravitate toward maths, physics, and all these things?
Yeah. But my dad is an open-minded person. You literally just do whatever you want and whatever that you're really good at, and he's just there to pay the school fees.
You probably had the easiest, most, you know, adorable dad.
Yes.
Not like ours. Some of us were always told you have to be a certain thing in life, and if you're not, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, and some were caned. Some of us who were left-handed, our hands were tied in the neck so that we can become right-handed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there are quite a lot of things that goes in there.
Yeah.
So David, growing up as a creative person, from the way we looked at you, you were more leaned toward tech from a very young person age. Let's talk about, did you ever make wired cars?
Yeah.
In pursuit of becoming an engineer and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, everyone in an estate that I grew up in, literally, the boys and the girls as well, they literally, everyone made their own toys using, you know, these wires. Yeah. So we'll go to, you know, these fences that are made from these wires. We'll screw that up, unscrew it, and then break the wires, and then use rubber. Yeah, tie it together, then use slippers, you know the slippers? Yes.
Cut the hole in the to make the tire.
Yeah, cut the hole, make the tire, and then there you go with your car. And they will really be strong. You could actually use them to fetch water, you know, using these 5-liter jerrycans.
Wow. So the creativity in Africa springs from way back when we were children. The only thing is that our education system sort of like, you know, cut that off our head when we started going to nursery school and primary school, and things changed. And some of us were never, you know, good at becoming a creative person at some point, or some of us never made it. But the likes of Daudi Okwii, as we call him, have definitely been able to pursue that career and be where they are today. So David, we're talking about, you're on the creative industry talk, and we're talking about Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We defined creativity from your perspective, but I want to just ask you, to you typically, what is the process of a person being creative?
What is the process? The process starts with a problem.
Yeah.
Look at the problem that you're trying to solve and then find ways of solving that problem in the most cost-effective way possible, using the materials, using the skills that you already possess. So if you're working with people, you have to organize people around you to come together to solve a common problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we talk about creativity from a point of creating a product, and or a brand or a product, you obviously have been into the process of creating one for yourself.
Yes.
And you have one in the process. Typically, take us through that. How do you start and where do you start from? Because everybody, we believe, is creative.
Yeah.
But the level of creativity varies. Some are very intuitive in their process. Others are very, slow in their process. Some people need a kickstart at the back and just kick them up and they start waking up and they start doing it by making life hard for them, like COVID-19 came and gave some of us a butt kick and we're doing it.
Yeah.
And some just do it easily. But to you, did it come just naturally, easily?
Yeah, I like how you described it. There is no one way of reaching the creative path. It can be chaotic, it can be organized, it can be forced, it can be out of coercion and hard times. Can come from all angles. Yeah, but I'll talk about the Odukar experience, literally, how we started the Odukar store and how we got here. We started right before lockdown in 2020, just when the coronavirus had started. At that time, online shopping was still something that was taking off. Some people would do online shopping, others wouldn't. But when the coronavirus came, we didn't start a Odukar store because of the coronavirus, but it found us. Yes, it found us right at the beginning of the incubation. But so how we started, how we approached the problem is that, okay, we realized there's a lockdown, there's a restriction in movement, people couldn't go to shops, and we decided to launch the store online, mostly. We had a physical store, but we said let's concentrate online first. And then when you launch an online store, there are basically a number of things that you have to nail. You have to nail a way of people discovering you and finding you, because it is not like a store that people walk in and then find your products. You have to find a way of storing your goods. You have to find a way of delivering the product to the customer. You have to find a way of people paying you eventually. And then you have to find a way of managing customer relations or customer care. So we had all these facets and we needed to bring them together and put them in a product or a service that could work in this market at that time. So COVID helped us in a way because it accelerated the trend towards online shopping. For the very first time, some people made an order online for the very first time. Not because they wanted.
Because COVID gave them a kick.
Because, as you said, the creative process, that kick, it forced them to make purchases online for the very first time. And when you do something for the very first time and it works, it becomes a part of you. You say, oh, okay, this thing actually works. And then before you know it, it becomes a lifestyle, becomes the norm, it becomes the new normal. You realize, this is how it should work. It should have been this way all along.
Wow.
So, yes, the hard times accelerated our creativity as well. And it helped us reach that goal. So we just had to play around with delivery, make sure that the product reaches the customer as early as possible, make sure that we had convenient payment methods. You could either pay cash on delivery or you could use mobile money. So we had very flexible payment methods that were convenient to the customer. We were not rigid at all. That's how it worked for Odukar.
Wow. Well, you're hearing David Okwii right here on the Creative Industry Talk. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will dive into the discussion of, local content development, focusing on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. David will define that, his understanding of that a little bit, but then we'll dive into our main discussion today, which is system integration. He's talked about mobile money and his system and how it works and how they started. We want to know, how do you integrate all of these things together, and how can we, the creative people who create products like David, begin to use the system and integrate the system to be able to, sell products without you having to go there should coronavirus continue, should we go into another lockdown, how do you deal with it? Stay right there, I'll be right back after the break. This is Creative Industry Talk. Eddie Okila, David Okwii, we'll be right back after the break.
When we start the Bayimba Festival, or starting Bayimba in general, for me it took me like 3 years of thought, of thinking. And as I went to Chitobero, I went to Chigunda, I traveled around East Africa, and one of the reasons actually, which I rarely talk about, was when I was traveling around Lake Victoria. I was doing a documentary about the lives of the people who live around the LVB, the Lake Victoria Basin. Yes. I went to Kisumu, I went to Mwanza, and I realized actually all these people have so much in common, but they know little about each other. Yeah. Yet they are all surviving on this same lake. Yes. So for me it was very interesting. It kind of also brought back, like, the arts are the same. Mm-hmm. The arts were the same because we realized that we are all feeding onto each other. The musicians, the theater, the dance, the painters, and the writers. But we all had our own ways. We were separate, everyone is doing their own thing. And I think bringing them together in one place was a creative process to kind of cultivate that space that was missing. So I think this is, for me, where I could see the processes of really going through the idea, understanding it, convincing yourself, finding the value, finding the strategic, the impact it's going to create, add on to the industry. And also when, like at Bayimba, when we are going through our creative processes of thinking about strategically what are we going to do, it takes quite some time when you have conversations with your staff, your colleague, the sector. Sometimes we ask people questions 1 month after the other, and sometimes I feel, so I'm like, okay, and they don't feel like Bayimba is asking us too much, But I think it's important for us because we need to understand why are we doing what we're doing? How are we going to improve? And how can we do better? Where did we go wrong? And of course, sometimes you get some, advice, which is not, liked, but at the same time, it's good for you to hear it from the people that you're serving. So that process for me, it's important. And to be innovative at the end of the day, you have to be impactful. You have the product has to be useful to the people that it's going to serve.
Okay. Faisal, fear is the greatest enemy of innovation.
Yeah.
And quite often, most people start their thinking to create something. The innovation of, I want to innovate something, they think I want to innovate this kind of solution. And most times, somebody asks and says, do you have the money to start this thing? Do you know this takes a lot of money to do this? And before we know it, we shelve the idea and we don't do something about it.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that, given your experience from going around the Lake Victoria Basin in 3 years of trying to create Bayimba, and who was, by the way, funding you? Because that's another problem that we often have. The fear of not having the money will kill the innovation. You can stay with something which is very good for so long just because you don't have the money, or you don't know how to go about it, or you fear you will fail.
Yeah, I think I'm a student of failure, and I think it's very important as innovators to study failure because it's a very good beginning of building courage. Okay. If you don't fail, then you can't be stronger. And people can tell you that the first Bayimba was a failure, and it was a big lesson for me because I totally failed. my friend told me, I'll not mention him, he told me, Faisal, this brand is dead. Because, I mean, and I was like, yeah, you're right, but I'll prove you wrong.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela. In the studio is David Okwii, the founder and the shop manager at Odukar Stores, an online, stores in Uganda that is selling electronic products. And of course, on the show today to discuss Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. We are focusing on local content production, but we're gonna gear our production, rather our discussion towards, system integration. You've heard from David, how they've created the Odukar and how they were able to sell things online, and some Ugandans being able to order things for the first time online. And if you're one of those who want to hear from you, what was your experience like? Share it with us far and wide. We'd like to hear from you. David, welcome back to the program. I want to just take a moment to read some comments from some people here, David, that has come in the middle of the show. We just want to hear from them and what are they saying. I'll start first with a gentleman here and says, that's my OB from Nameliango. David Okwii has always been a young man who is creating things and trying things. Thanks, kudos, David. And